Welcome back to the Malt Miller YouTube channel, Homebrewers, and this video is part 2 of our exploration of everything to do with water treatment with the wonderful Fraser from Middlechild Brewing. So in this second half of our dive into water, everything to do with water, actually Fraser and I are going to be taking things a little bit more practical. So part 1, we did a lot of discussion about things that can affect water, what you need to look out for as a home brewer, and kind of your journey through understanding and exploring water. So if you haven't watched that part, there's a link up here which you can click on to go and watch the first part. But in this one, we're going to take things a bit more practical, aren't we? We are. We're going to sort of show you how the brewing software can predict what you're going to get in your mash. So we're going to do a few tiny little mash experiments using base water and some water treated with some acid, to see the predicted result against actually what we're physically getting in the actual mash. So you can have a reassurance that what it's predicting is what you're going to get. And also, once we've done that, we're going to dive into some of the brewing software and actually give you a bit of a talk through of how to navigate some of these tools and deploy them at home so that you can have the best possible results in your home brew beer. So the first part of this video, we're going to, like Fraser said, do a couple of small mash experiments. Let's just jump into why we're doing that a little bit, Fraser. Well, it's just really if you're using this software, you need to know that it's going to work for you. So by doing a physical test, I mean, I used to do this all the time when I was beginning. If I'm brewing on a Saturday, I would take a tiny proportion of that grist and I'll do a mash test that night before, knowing what the result was going to be the following day, just so I knew and had confidence in the process. And also what this should do is highlight kind of, you know, if you're a home brewer, it'll highlight what impact you're having by going on this journey. You know, if you do nothing, this is what you're going to get. You'll find we're going to have the first one, which is just using Swindon tap water with pale malt. We're expecting that pH to be about 5.8, which, if that is a real world scenario, that ain't good for you. That is really, really bad. It's going to impact, like you said, the efficiency. Yeah, you won't get as much extract converted into, your sugars won't get converted. Your pH then going into your kettle is going to be all wrong. So yeah, it's going to have an effect all the way down the line. And really what we're hoping to demonstrate is that, you know, at one end of the spectrum, if you do nothing, this is what you can expect. If you do something, this is what you can expect. If you do everything, this is what you can expect. And also some of the things you need to do along the way to actually get to those results. Let's get the first one mixed up. And we're going to start off with our untreated Swindon tap water. Hard as nails. So we've done our little science experiment then, Fraser. Talk us through what we've got in these 3 tiny cups in front of us. Yeah, so in the first cup, which was just your complete base water, untreated, nothing in it at all, with 400 grams of pale malt, and it came out with a pH of 9 on 6, 5.98, which is where I thought it would go. And where the brewing water software was predicting it as well to be at that point. So it just shows you if you're doing nothing to your water here, that's what you're going to get as a pH result, which is not doing you any favours at all. No, and our malt's going to struggle with conversion. We're losing out on some of that investment we've been making into ingredients. Exactly. So what about in the second? The second one, we've treated it as per the Murphy's report. Using their salts and their acid, and it's got into a lot closer range. It's what, 5.2 was that? So that will be fine. That's going to work exactly as you need it. It will give you a good beer. The third one we just used RO
Sorry, because the second one didn't have RO, did it?
No,
That's again tap water again, but treated with the mineral. So the mineral balance isn't going to be where you want it, but the pH result is correct.
Yeah.
The third one, we've just used all RO water, blank canvas, and we just calculated the amount of acid to go in there, tiny amount, and it's got us a result of 5.32 when it was predicted at 5.3.
Yeah.
So pretty much on the button.
Yes, and this just really articulates the differences in the approaches and the effect that's going to have on your mash, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Now, I guess if you were in any of these situations, well, certainly in situation 1 and 2, and you were achieving these kind of pH levels with your mash, you could then acidify the mash using acidulated malt or an acid to bring it down to that range.
You could, yeah. So like for the first one, if you mash that on the brew day and you've got 598 and you need to drop it down 0.5, you just put in 500 grams of acid malt into your mash. It's going to increase your ABV, your gravity slightly, but I'd far rather that than have a beer with a pH of 598.
Yeah.
So you can put 500 grams of acid malt in there, mix it all in, and you're going to be on point then.
Yes, cool. So this really shows us two things. One, what you get if you do nothing, but also showcases that you can still do things regardless of which step you've chosen to go through in terms of water treatment to get your mash pH in line.
Exactly.
But an important point you raised is with these two methods over here, unless you're targeting a specific beer style that your water profile suits, or the water profile you've achieved by doing something but not everything, you're still going to find that some beer styles, brewing them using these two methods, you're not going to be able to get close enough to the water profile that you want to achieve for that given style.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, the water here, the chloride to sulfate ratio you got here is 2:1 sulfate to chloride, so which isn't a bad ratio. So as long as if you've done nothing with your minerals and you've just adjusted the acid for your mash, you're going to get the beer's going to be fine.
Yep.
Just if you want to do something a bit more extreme, like East Coast or West Coast, and you really want to push the style parameters, you really need to be going down that route.
Okay, well that leads us on nicely to the next bit, because we're going to actually now dive into some of the brewing software and look at how you can take that kind of empty RO water and
build it up.
Yeah, start to build it up.
Yep, cool, let's do it.
So we have a fairly blank copy of Brew and Water open here for this part, because what we're going to do now is do a bit of a walkthrough of how to navigate this and build your water profile. Now, as we touched on, there are a couple of other tools out there available. They may be slightly less intricate as this, and they will deliver you a result. The reason we're doing this is because we want to give you as much understanding as possible, and also because we're both advocates of using this tool specifically.
I've tried some of the others and they work fine, but this is just one that I've got my head wrapped around completely, so I know exactly what it's doing.
So it's in the form of an Excel spreadsheet. I've got my screen recording going, so I'll be able to show you exactly what we're doing on the screen at the same time. Now, the first thing we're going to want to do is really start with the first tab, right?
Yeah, first tab, which is basically we're putting all the information. You've gone and got your water report from either Thames Water or whatever your local water authority is, or you've got your information from Murphy's, so you've got your breakdown of everything that you've got. That information we now need to input into the water report input. Yeah,
in this very top section up here, right? And you can see we've already populated with our particular home water profile. So we've got 96 calcium, 5.5 magnesium, 26.6 sodium. Our bicarbonate is 198.7. Sulfate 61.4, chloride 33.
Yeah, the only thing to say is the bicarbonate figure, sometimes the water reports won't give it to you as HCO3, they may express it in a different way. But I think there's a simple calculation. I think you times it by 1.22, divide it by 1.22, and it will convert it for you. But use Google for that, and it will calculate it for you.
Yeah, cool. So once we've done that, we've then told the software what our base water is. Then we need to start thinking about adding in specifics about the recipe we're brewing. So for this example, we have put in our verdant sundialer recipe, because that's actually what got us originally talking about this.
It was indeed.
And you helping me, and actually you said something really important. For people that want to brew the best possible hazy New England styles, understanding water is a hugely important topic.
So, it's game changing.
Yeah, absolutely. The second tab on the spreadsheet, is where we are starting to put in a few more details and also making some choices.
Yes.
So this is where we're talking about our sparge water. We need to input down here the amount of sparge water we're going to be using.
Yep.
And we also need to choose which acid type we're going to be using.
Exactly.
If we're using any acid. So we've got loads of different options here. So as we mentioned earlier, CRS is also AMS.
Yep.
We're using phosphoric at a strength of 10%. So you need to put that in as well, because depending on where you get it from, that might be different, right?
Yeah, generally it's either 10% or 85. They're the only two I've seen commercially available.
Yeah.
And 85 is just too strong and dangerous.
Yeah.
If you spill 10% on you, it's not going to do any major damage. You can wash it off quickly. 85 is going to burn.
Yeah.
So you want to be playing with 10.
Yeah. Okay, so once that's in there, we then weirdly need to jump to the 4th tab, right?
Yeah.
Because this is actually where we need to input the information about the recipe that we're brewing, specifically the grains, because as we've touched on, the grain that we're going to be using, the colour of the grain makes a difference
Yeah,
to
it's going
the
to impact our mash profile.
the acidity that we're going to have, or the alkalinity in the mash. So you choose the different types of grain that you've got in there. You can also choose from base malt, crystal malt, roast malt, or acid malt. Put your quantity in, the colour, and once you've put everything in, it will then calculate for you its estimate of where the mash pH is going to be.
That's it, yeah.
And it'll also give you some guidance. So in this case, actually, we can see that it thinks that the mash pH is going to be at 6, and it's shouting
less water, alkalinity is needed.
Yeah.
Which is what, yeah, exactly.
And this is,
Especially
again,
because we need to put the acid in, which we
Yeah.
haven't calculated yet.
but this is also based on our local water.
Yes.
So we haven't done anything to the water yet. Now, let's jump into this one, which is the water adjustment. This is where the real meat comes into it,
is,
right?
Yeah.
So up in the top left-hand corner, if we start up here, we need to choose the water profile
That you want to match.
Yeah. And how does that work with brewing water?
It's got a load of pre-selected ones in there from different countries around the world, different cities, so you can choose whatever country you want to mix. Or if you go right to the bottom, you can see that there's a custom one, so you can build your own personal one in there. Like if you have a certain profile you use for your stouts, you can build it in. If you've got one you do for your hazes, you can build it in, and then you can just select it every time, and it'll just input all them details straight into the tab for you.
Excellent. So we've chosen the Verdant water profile that we like to use, which we can see is now listed all the way along the top here, showing us the kind of goals that we want to be getting to.
Yeah, that's what we want, trying to be matching.
Yeah, and you can see that the existing water profile has been brought in as well. So this is from our water report that we've already put in at the beginning there.
The mash pH is wrong at the moment.
Yeah, and you can then see the difference between our overall water profile that we want to get to and the one that we've got at the moment.
Yeah, and the main big one is the chloride, which is massively different.
Yeah, hugely so. But what we're going to do for the purposes of this, and to really highlight how additions make an impact, we're actually going to use this dilution tab down here. So as we've said, you might wish to kind of cut your water 50-50 with RO water or Ashbeck. So if we put 50% dilution rate in, you can suddenly see everything in our finished water profile down here has halved.
Yeah, and it's all gone green, which means it's good parameters.
Yeah. But like I said, for the purposes of this,
we're using all RO.
Yeah, we're going to go 100% RO. And we can see that whilst everything's green, pretty much there's nothing there. No, there's nothing there. No. So this is where we need to start building it back.
You'll see that the mass pH has gone from red in that box to amber, which is saying it's because there's less alkalinity in the RO. It's just pulled the mash pH down to near where it should be.
Yeah.
It's still not correct, so we still need acid in there as well, and build. Well, the salts are going to help as well. As you put the salts in, that's going to bring the pH down as well.
Yeah. Importantly, you have to also put in your mash volume as well as your sparge volume and your total batch volume, because it needs that data to be able to calculate everything correctly.
Indeed, including the colour of the wort.
Right, come on then, Fraser. Tell me what you think I need to be adding in to try and get this RO water as close to.
Well, the first thing we want to start building in, just putting in the chloride, sodium calcium chloride.
Yep. So let's start with that.
So just put 0.1 in and just see how it affects it. So it's gone up. So you could probably say from 0.1 it's gone up to 52, so we need 4 times that. So put in 0.4. we may want to tweak that down when we put the salt in, but
Yep.
you can see that it's jumped right close enough, very close to where we need it to be. Yeah, we need to look at the sodium levels because that's going to impact the flavour from the sodium, but it's also going to add more chloride in.
Sodium chloride, right?
Exactly.
Yep.
So we're going to put that in, and it's about just jiggling and balancing all these parameters to get it where we need it to be.
So on here, we're going to go to the canning salt tab, and we're going to put in 0.1, see what that does.
Yeah.
Okay, so that gets us actually a touch over our sodium levels.
So we can bring that down, put in like 0.9 and see where that goes.
0.09. Yep, so 43 and we were shooting for 41.
You could go even further. You could put in 0.85. You could dial it. You'll get it exactly. If you spend enough time playing with it, you will get exactly what you need it to be. But if you're in the right ballpark, then
0.085. Yeah, there we go. Cool. So that's brought us down to 41.4. But as a consequence,
the chloride's gone up.
Yes.
So now we bring down the calcium chloride.
So we're going to go with 0.3. That brings us down to 200. We were shooting for 206.
So you can go up a tiny bit.
There we go, 205.
Yeah, that's...
Okay, now what else? Where else would you want me to look at?
Well, we'll need to look at the sulfite levels because they need to go up.
Yeah. So we're aiming for 84 for this recipe.
Yeah.
We're currently at 1. So where would you go for that?
I think we need to look at gypsum. Just see if we can get it all from gypsum. It may go too high with the gypsum, but we can alter that as well if we need to.
Let's go with 0.1. That gets us to 56 without exceeding our calcium level.
Which we're looking at 120 maximum.
Yeah.
So we can up that a little bit and just see where we go.
0.15. Okay, actually, that gets
That's
us
pretty
to...
much bang on, isn't it?
Yeah.
84.7 to 84. And yeah, the calcium is pretty much spot on.
Yeah.
So straight away there, you've got all your additions are bang on to the verdant profile.
Yeah, and also it's brought our mash pH in line as well.
Yeah, what's that showing? 5.4. So if you go onto the mash tab, yeah, so it's showing 5.44. For me, I'd want that down a little bit, and you can do that by altering the acid in the mash.
Yeah.
So go back to the water input and the phosphoric acid that you're going to be putting in. So if you put in 0.1, just see what that does.
Not a huge amount, brings it to 5.
So put some more in, double it up again. And again, just keep going until it brings it down to 5.3.
So 0.6 millilitres per litre.
Yeah, which is
11 mil in your mash.
Yeah, so that's brought our pH down to 5.3. We've got all of our mineral additions in line with where
the verdant profile.
And then over here, on this side where you get your total water additions, you get a really nice summary of everything that needs to be added and at which point as well. So you have your mash and your sparge separated out, and it tells you exactly how much of each by the gram to add
to go into the mash. Exactly. And also, if you can, there's a little button there you can click, and that will take all their minerals out of the equation. So if you didn't want all their minerals to go into the mash, you want to do it after, that will calculate it for you.
Cool. And then the other tab that I really like is tab number 5. So this really shows you the overall summary of everything you need to be adding, and it just does it really handily in one straightforward table. Nice work.
So that took us, 5 minutes?
Yeah. But understanding exactly what you need to do and when you need to do it within this spreadsheet. Now, as we've said, with loads of other platforms available, this one just gives you a really good in-depth understanding of all of the additions you need to make.
Yeah, and also you can just save a copy and keep a database of these Excel spreadsheets for every recipe you do. The next time you brew it, just pull it back up again. And if you change any one parameter, like a malt change, you just input that different malt in there and fine tune it back to where you want it to be again.
Yeah. Well, look, Fraser, that kind of wraps up this 2-part series, and we both hope massively so that this has given some people the confidence to have a go at all 3 of the different levels that we've suggested.
You know what stage of your homebrewing career you're at.
water calculations, water additions is pretty much an endless topic, isn't it, Fraser?
It can be, yeah, but it doesn't have to be difficult. Like I say, just look at it, break it down into the two most important things you're doing, sorting your mash pH out and getting your additions to hit the style you want to brew. They're the two things you need to worry about. Everything else, just don't worry about it. It's not important.
The other thing we would suggest is, Fraser alluded to the fact that once they started focusing on water, was entering his beers into competitions and they did well, very well. That would be some good advice, right? Once you've started playing with this, get feedback on the beers you're making. Get people to try them, get independent people to try them if you can.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I would like to suggest as well is, if you are making changes to your water because you're trying to target a specific style, get a commercial example of that style that is really good. And
or like Sundialer as we've just done there. Go and buy a can of it, brew it yourself, compare the two, and just see how far in you are.
Yeah, and try as much as possible to look beyond the obvious flavours of the hops and the malt and actually start focusing in on things like mouthfeel, body, texture, the things that are behind the ingredient flavours. You'll certainly start to find you're more honed into what impact water's having on that beer. So as we said, we hope that this really does encourage you all to have a go at trying some different approaches to adjusting your water and having a big impact on your beer. It goes without saying, a huge thank you to Fraser for giving up your time today.
It's been good fun.
It's really good and always a pleasure to spend time with you. If you have any questions about any of the topics we've discussed here on this video or part one, please drop them down in the comments section below. We'll be looking at them, but Fraser's going to be taking a look at them as well.
Yeah, and I'll put some comments on there, help answer any questions you got. So,
and we want to know how you find using some of these methods. Do you see an impact in your beer? Have you found that it's elevated the styles that you're trying to brew? Because that's what it's all about. We want to help everybody brew the best possible beer at home.
Exactly. Good luck.
Don't forget, subscribe to our channel, hit the bell for notifications, and also you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and of course TikTok. Have a great brew.